she answering? And who am I? That's not a secret I'll never tell. You know you love me. XOXO.
IT.
Alright, we've got 3 hours and 35 minutes of this speed run left, and my brain is a little bit just like...
इस तरीके से फ्रूट सेल करते हैं। देखिए भाई की कटिंग करने की स्टाइल मैं आपको दिखा दूं।
But you know what? It's time for everyone's favorite part, the DFDs and the pseudocode. And you might be sitting there thinking that pseudocode is just a useless thing. And when you're coding, it's a bit like...
It's against the rules.
You never saw this coming! I summoned Pot of Greed to draw 3 additional cards from my deck!
That's not what it does! It doesn't do that.
That is what it does.
It doesn't.
That's what it do, Yugi!
It does what it do.
So the pseudocode and algorithms and the DFD is your turn to say, if I could code perfectly, this is what my database would do, and this is how my algorithms would function, and everything would work beautifully. And it gives other people the opportunity to be like, well, maybe I can expand on this and I can code that for you. But in the reality of it, we're going to be doing our best to code to that algorithm. And a lot of people make their algorithm to best represent their code. But for me, it should be done the other way around so that you can best understand your database and show that you understand how your algorithm should work. All right, when we're making a DFD, there's several different objects that we can use in order to represent our database working. Before I go on a speed run of making DFDs, I'm going to show you what those objects are in our school and how we use them. These are followed by what the QCAA recommends as the objects. Draw.io does not label them correctly in my eyes. And so I would recommend doing what I do, but you can argue that yours is correct if you go the other way. The first object that we want to use is this one, an external entity. An external entity is represented by anyone or anything that is accessing the data and will be using that database and creating processes. The next one is where it gets a little bit tricky. A process. This one here is described as a process that is occurring with the data. So it is an action that is performed on the data. It should not be a noun. It should not be an adjective. It is an action that is performed on the data. Maybe it's like validation of some credentials or a login, but it is not a noun. This one here is the way in which it flows. So often it will go from an external entity into a process. This one here should be a noun and it should be labeled just above, and it might be like a username or a password, a label for the data that is going from the external entity into the process. The next one that we have is a data store. We label these with like D1, and it's just the data that is being accessed. Often the table will be the name of this one. So like it might be D1 users. Awesome. And a piece of data can flow from a process into a database, or from a database into a process, vice versa. They are the 4 objects that you need to understand for a data flow diagram. We can label these ones with like process 1, be like a login. All right. So with that being explained, I'm now going to speed run my DFD. 3 hours left on the clock. It's now time to do the algorithms. Now we're going to use a text editor like Notepad to do the algorithms. You're going to put them into an IPO chart and speed run this one for you again.